Hey, how's it going? I'm Ubercoo. What's up? I am now live streaming, I hope. I'm actually double checking, making sure everything is up. Because I like to do that. I just like to make sure everything's good. Got my phone here on the side. Pop my headphones. Okay. Just update that. Okay, good, sure. Alright, great. Yeah, so it looks like that is up and running. Great. Alright, that's working wonderful. Alright, let me see if I can turn this up just a little bit. How about now? Oh yeah, yeah, I like that. Okay, one more time. Yeah, that's good. All right, that's a little better. Just making sure everything's all leveled out. All right, let me minimize OBS here. Oh wait, gotta pull up. Okay, so this video I wanted to talk about the new directors, or like who they got recasted for directors of Fast and Furious and the Fantastic Four, both double Fs, two Fs. I think I don't know if that totally matters, but I do think that's a interesting coincidence. Not really, but we'll see. Now, there was supposed to creative differences between Justin Lin, who was the director and co-writer for the Fast franchise. On Wiki here already, it says Fast 10. Looks like they already have the new director, Louise Letter, is a French film director. For the Transporters films, Unleashed, Incredible Hulk, 2008. Wait a minute, did he direct the Incredible Hulk 2008? I thought somebody else directed that. Hmm. Clash of the Titans, Now You See Me, Dark Crystal. Okay, so yeah, he's got some titles. That's cool. I've not heard of him, so that's great. Um, Let me go back. Wait, hold on. I probably didn't have this up, do I? That's so professional. Okay. Yeah, that's better. So yeah, so I don't know what the deal is. I don't want. I don't. I wasn't being gonna try. I just heard about this. I thought it was interesting. Now I'll say this that like it is kind of disappointing that Justin Lin's not directing it because he's had so many of like had such a hands-on development in the franchise starting from like was it Tokyo Drift, right? I don't think it's the worst movie in the franchise. I don't think it's the best movie in the franchise. Some people disagree on either side, but I think it's kind of right in the middle there. Um, what I find funny about Tokyo Drift is there's this one scene or like there was this, yeah, it was a scene where they're on the mountain and they're like just doing the practice with like the main dude and the girl, and I forgot their names now. But so she has a line about when we were kids, we used to come up here all the time. I'm like, isn't this movie based still in high school? So like, what were you like? Was that when you're 12? How old do you get to drive there? I I'm not sure, but I it's interesting that like I don't know if it was just part of the writing that like they were trying to age them up a little bit. I'm not sure, but yeah. Let's see here. Um, But yeah, the I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work out. I don't know how that's gonna work out. I'm kind of hesitant overall on the Fast franchise. I remember the first one when it came out. I don't remember. I didn't see it in theater. I saw it on home video when it came out over at my cousin's house. They were a kind of a car family. They like working on cars and all that. So like that was an interest. That was a and one thing people forget I think is in that era of like that it. I thought there was like a lull or like a dip in like called car culture. Maybe somebody could disagree with me, but like that movie, I remember when that movie came out, that kind of revitalized for like the next generation. There was like, I remember when that movie came out, there was like a lot of people who I knew around the area, and I grew up in Detroit, like well around Detroit, and like so both really, and hold on, I apologize, I got my neighbors. So they got what was I talking about? I forgot my train of thought. Oh, right. So when I was a kid, yes, this is like early 2000s, right? I was still like just out of high school or around high school area, and there was a lot of kids who started buying like all these like parts for their cars and decking out their cars, neon lights. This one guy had that chameleon paint when it first came out. I think like I don't know if it was came first came out, but it was definitely new. I'd never seen a car you could see the transition of different colors. That was to me that was new. I thought that was cool. Um, so like some people put like really some a really badass stereo system in their car. My cousin did. He actually had an Astro van with like what was it 4 or 6 12s in the Astro van. That thing was ridiculous. So yeah, that was definitely something to remember. And then me and a couple other guys, we purchased CB radios because at the same time we also watched Smokey and the Bandit, which was really stupid. So we all bought CB radios and like we would just drive around talking to each other on the CB radio. Now that makes sounds really like kind of redneckish, but it was actually fun because it was like we all had cell phones. I mean, it's early 2000s. It's not like we didn't have I take that back. I didn't have a cell phone because I didn't get a cell phone until like much later, until you technically had to get one, like by peer pressure. So like, yeah, but there was, yeah, we were just driving around town and like we would just have fun, kind of. Not so even mess people, but like we would see people we know, right? And you just like somebody that you know, and you just kind of mess with them, like driving around, and like we would box them in, it was a couple of cars, just like the Fast and Furious. It was just because we were, stupid kids, right? And I think that was fun. That was fun times. Um, let's see here, what else? And then after that, there was a. I think it was interesting because like why they kept going with this franchise after Paul Walker died, and then keeping his character alive, which was still weird. Like, were you planning on having him some way? Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, I have coffee. I left the coffee on. But anyway, so I'm talking about the when I just thought that when you have 7 films, even by itself, when you have 7 films, right? That's pretty good. Not many franchises can go like throughout history. Like, what was the longest franchise before this? Before like they were big franchises and universes. There wasn't many. Honestly, I would have to go with the one I can think of offhand is like the Monster Universe, uh, Kevin Smith's universe. I don't know if you count Tarantino as a whole one whole universe. Some people do, some don't. Um, let's see what else. A lot of that stuff just came like after the 2000s, but like the Fast franchise, I mean, it was basically dead after Tokyo Drift. People thought that like we weren't going to get another Fast and Furious movie, and then all of a sudden they came out with Fast Four and like rebooted the franchise. And then you had Fast Five, which is such a huge hit. And you have like everybody in that film, um, so they just kept on going, you know. Uh, but it was interesting. It was interesting how that like how this franchise was able to. What is going on with the video here? What is up with the? Oh great, what's up? Why is this not loading correctly? Is that? Oh, let me check my own phone. It's probably on my phone. It's got poor resolution. I just want to make sure it's coming in decent. Yeah, it was like glitching out or something. I don't know what was going on here with like low res. It's weird. But anyway, let me go ahead and close that. So with that, what was I saying? With the Fast franchise, yeah. So after three, a lot of people just thought it was dead. Like, they didn't know where it was going. Okay, so now what's up with this? What is up with this? All of a sudden, see, it's going back again. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that. Huh? Is that? Let me go to the main video. Do a little video and video action. Let me check the resolution here. 720 at 60. Let me check the resolution. Okay, so let me close that up before it starts echoing. 720 at 60. Yeah, so there it goes, starting to echo again. I apologize. So let me get off of there, and we. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, that's not good. Hopefully, we can get that out of here. Okay, so where was I? Let me try going back to Wikipedia. Can I pull up Wikipedia, or are you going to try to give me problems again? I wonder if it's because it's Wikipedia. Like, can you not stay on the page? Like, is this some YouTube censoring thing or something? Because that wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I hope it doesn't stay. But anyway, as I was trying to say was, um, for like the fifth time, after the third one, yeah, a lot of people thought there was just a dead franchise, and they got rebooted. So that was really cool. Um, and then I think they just after seven, I think they just didn't know where to go with it. I mean, how can you? Because Paul Walker is such a huge pillar in that franchise. It's hard to say what is the best choice instead of making it another superhero film. Um, I think he was like the last frame, like a last ground to somewhat of a reality on that on this franchise. Because it's just his personality and like the chemistry between him and Vin Diesel, and I think like he could have been like if he was still alive, like maybe he could have been like a moderator between The Rock, and I don't know, that whole thing, but I think that would definitely, if he were still alive, that would be a different set of events that would have happened. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously he's been around. That would have an influence. Um, yeah, so I think that they at least should have killed off his character in the movie. It like I don't know how they would have done it, but like, or at least like say he's never coming back. At least because that's the thing. They leave it open. Not only is he alive, but like he could come back, like in some CGI thing. And I don't know if I mean I don't want to. I don't want to see that. I didn't like the Egon in Ghostbusters. I don't know. There's something disrespectful, I think, about using someone's image like after the fact, like after they're dead. There's just I don't know. I just find that even if it's even with the respect of the family, because most families don't know. They don't know what's going to go into it. They're just, oh, I mean, they will sell them of like, well, yeah, we'll make it totally respectable and like, but they don't know. You don't know how that's going to play out. So I just don't. That's something I can't totally agree with, unless the person specifically states in their contract or at some point like in their will or something, and then like they say, okay, you could use my likeness rights like after I'm dead, and like that would make sense. But like other than that, I don't think it should be. Because what's to say? I mean, like let's just stretch out that line, right? You take the basic premise of the idea. Let's stretch that out to its furthest conclusion. Do you want like your grandparents back alive? I don't know. Yes and no. Obviously, that's even more difficult. But that's my point. Is it goes into that. Anyway, back to the movie. Fast and Furious. I'm still gonna watch 10 and 11 because I heard it was broken up in two. So I am gonna look forward to that. I think it'll be fun. Um, I hope they actually have who was it? Eva Mendes, I think, which she was in the second one. Like everybody's, I think a lot of people have wanted her back since then, but like I don't know what happened to her. I think she's taking care of her kids or something. But yeah, I think that yeah, she would be fun to have back. I wanted to have Suki back from part two. Like all those characters from part two. Um, there was a lot of I think that like yeah, Agent Ray. What was her name? Agent something. That was Eva Mendes' character. I want her back, and I wanted Suki back. I thought they would have been great additions back to the group. It would have been a great callback. And who else? I think they pretty much got everyone else except who they can't. Obviously, can't bring back Gal Gadot because she died in the film. Which, again, that's another choice that they could have avoided. I mean, I get it for like she wanted out and Wonder Woman and all, but it just seems that like you can still leave the door open, but like it's just their choices, right? They kill off characters that are still alive, but keep some the people who died still alive. You know what I'm saying? Like they or let me phrase that they Gal Gadot's character dies, but she's still alive. Paul Walker dies, but he's still alive in the film. You know what I'm saying? So that doesn't make sense to me. So I yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of my take on the Fast 10 so far. I've been trying to see what else is going on. There's not like a lot to it. It's just basically it wasn't a huge story, I suppose. I mean, it is disappointing. I'll say that it is. If you, especially since Vin Diesel has that reputation with other actors of having creative difference problems. So the I just it is kind of disappointing because I've been trying to stick with this franchise since what was it 99 or 2000 when it first came out. That first movie is really good and it really does hold up as like a separate film from the franchise. You could watch it by itself, have a fun time with it. Um, and like if you really want to, you could go so far as watching the second one. With I like the second one, Too Fast Too Furious. I thought it was pretty good. Um, there's even on the DVD, I think, or Blu-ray, it has a clip of like what happened to Brian between part one and part two. So you can always check that out. What else did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about the Fantastic Four. Let me. So let me think if there's anything else I wanted to bring up. Han. I want to talk about Han. I liked Han. I really did. Again, another choice of saying, well, we've killed this character, but let's bring him back anyway. It's just it's the continuity choices that they have. And I really enjoyed Han. I thought he was great. And again, it was Tokyo Drift, and then like later on when he comes back, the relationship between him and Gal Gadot was great. Um, what else? I think my favorite scene in the Fast franchise, when they're stealing the vault, when they're stealing the vault and they've got like the two cars and they're just pulling it through the city, and like, and I'm thinking to myself, this entire moment, if it were in reality, would be like a terrorist attack or something. Like it would be like there would be national news, right? It would probably make it would probably make CNN news, like just in Rio. I think it was in Rio, right? It was like in the city, like I forgot what city it was, but like let me scroll down here. It's probably I can probably go to one of the films here. Anyway, I'm not gonna go into that. But the point is that like the I thought that was a really great badass scene of them like do that whole movie, man. That whole movie where they're stealing the vault is a really great, really good story between them all. I really enjoyed that. Let's see, who else I liked? Um, I thought they could have brought in John Cena better than just his brother. Like that was gone for the entire franchise. Like again, writing choices. Like you're just putting in the guy because he's a big name, right? And like they don't even look alike, really, man. I mean, at least try a little bit, just a little bit. Try, how hard is it to fake drive cars, sit in a green screen, and just go like this, and then scream family, like, or like just look badass. It's not that difficult, dude. It can't be that difficult. Um, but have just a like maybe his best friend. That would make so much more sense if Dom's best friend, who he went rogue, or he had a backstory like Brian did as a cop, right? Let's say John Cena became in the military, right? Instead of being his brother, he was just his best friend, and like he chose the law instead of you know what I'm saying? Like just go that separate route, like Brian did, and then that would give Dom character relationship on why he doesn't trust police, right? Because his old best friend John Cena became a cop, or he became in the military. You know what I'm saying? Like he just part of that law, and then eventually the best friend he gets corrupted and he becomes later on in the series. That would make sense, and I literally just made that up off the top of my head. So like, it just seems lazy to me that they can't get this right. I mean, the actions there, the ridiculousness is there, the actors are there. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is there, but they just there's just those choices that they make. It doesn't make sense. Like they just because I think they could have been really good. I mean, it really has been, man. Like I just think about like up to like when Paul died, and these in those movies were still connected, but after that they're just we could stop a submarine, or we can go to space, I guess. That seems, and the only reason why we go into space on 10 is because Jason X from the 90s went to space. That was the whole original premise of going to space in these movies. I think that's hilarious. Like that was the unwritten rule. Like if you made it to 10, you had to go to space. That was like this unwritten rule, and like they went to it. So, and they made it even before 10. That was in 9 that they went to space. So I don't know if they're going to be time traveling superheroes, ridiculous nonsense. Um, there was a time that I wish they would just go back to, ripping off truck drivers for DVD players. It's just I just think that would it's simpler, in storytelling. The simple story works if it's written well. As you expand it out, there's it becomes like Swiss cheese. There's just things that you miss. So, and that's the biggest problem I think overall with universes and franchises nowadays. That like there's more hit and misses. I feel that than they want to admit. But leading into the franchises, how about that Fantastic Four? Let's see, Fantastic Four. How do I feel about Fantastic Four? I am actually again. This is I think this is something that I feel a little disappointed on John Watts leaving. And the reason is because I thought there was a interesting thread being developed between the first franchise of Iron Man and then the franchise of Spider-Man. Because you have Happy coming in into the Spider-Man franchise. You also have a lot of Tony's robots and his, all his technology and like his influence. Like, he's in the in the first Spider-Man movie. So like, there's this thread that goes through, um, throughout those films, and I was really hoping that that same thread could be carried on from Spider-Man into Fantastic Four. Like, I really wanted to have um, what was the robot's name that saved Tony's life in the first Iron Man? Dummy, was that his name? The robot dummy with the arm, with the hand and the arm. So that he saves Tony's life in the first Iron Man, and then because of that, gets to save the universe, right, and beat Thanos. So we can all thank Dummy for saving the MCU. Now, from there, but I would really like to have him be an assistant to Reed Richards. I think that would be a very great callback to have Reed Richards um, just reach over and like, he does his stretch, but then before he gets to the tool that he's reaching for, Dummy already has it and handing it to him. Something like that. I just think that would be a great callback to say, "Oh, that's great. You're tying that thread even further." Um, you know, as Marvel can on occasion do. Um, I that would be a callback I would really like. One of the things I'll say this, I'll briefly talk about Spider-Man No Way Home is that one of the best things I appreciated about Spider-Man No Way Home was Doc Ock holding Tony Stark's arc reactor, and he says, "The power of the sun in the palm of my hand." That callback was just so good. Because he worked so hard for that. And that I rewatched those movies a couple days ago. I watched the first two Spider-Man movies with Toby, and that soundtrack of the first movie, that no no that Danny Elfman theme, and people say Danny Elfman's soundtracks for superheroes sound the same. I don't agree, but they are similar. I can see how you would think that, but they are different. Um, the but that sound that as soon as you hear that first note, that, well, I can't even, I'm tone deaf, so I can't do it. But yeah, that first note from the Spider-Man theme, you recognize that as that movie, and it just brings you back, right? If you were that age, like I was, that came out in 2001, and I was about the same age. I was still just about to graduate high school, so that was kind of my generation. Um, and then like that was a thing for people that my age, and like not just that, you have to remember that at the time Marvel wasn't the Marvel that it is now. You've got, in 2001 you had Blade 1, which was badass. That was a People were talking, that they were saying, "Oh, it's a badass movie, you got to see Blade," right? um, People didn't look at Blade as a, I would say the general audience. The general audience didn't see Blade as a Marvel character. Like I think a lot of people knew of it, but like vampires were really popular in the '90s, and so like you had like Interview with the Vampire, John Carpenter's Vampires. There was a bunch of them. I don't even want to list them all, but like there was a few in the '90s of people who loved vampires. What else? There was so Blade. Yeah, so Blade was like right there, running off that vampire craze. That's basically what it was. Um, from there, after Blade came out, that was a huge thing. I love Blade. That was, everybody loved Blade, especially like if you were in high school and you were like, and you had Napster. That was like one of the first soundtracks that you got, was the Blade soundtrack. That dub music, or that wasn't even dub, dude. It was like, I think it was house or something. It was like, I don't, yeah, but that was a great soundtrack. What else? And then I think Blade 2 came out in, I'm gonna say 2002 or 2003. So that hadn't even come out yet. So really, that was like the only. No, X Men. That's right. I forgot about X Men. So X Men 1 comes out, and then that was like in 2000. So like, no wait, when did? Hold on. Let me look this up here. Hold on. So I'm gonna have to do some callbacks here. X Men 1 release date. X-Men movies release timeline. 2000. Okay, so we'll just yeah. So that came out in 2000. Blade came out like 97. So let me take a look at Blade. When was Blade? Here we go. 98. Okay, yeah. So 98, and then I remember in 98 when it came out on, I don't know if it was DVD, most likely DVD. There was a special feature where there was a cameo by a character supposed to be Morbius in that film. So that and I've been waiting for a Morbius character since then. And then on top of that, the original Blade cartoon or not Spider-Man cartoon. So yeah, and now we have a Morbius movie. It was okay and disappointing. Did not reflect what most people knew. Um, yeah, I want a reboot of that. I hate reboots, but I want someone to really give that another shot. I really do. I don't want them to just. I say throw Jared Leto, dude. I'm so tired of Jared Leto. For me, he ruined the Joker, and I could tolerate Heath Ledger's Joker, um, but yeah, but he just ruined it. I don't know. I don't like it. But anyway, so I was disappointed by Morbius. I really was. So back to Blade. So Blade came out in 2000. Spider Man came out in. Oh no, excuse me. Blade came out in 98. X Men came out in 2000, and then 2001 had Spider Man. So you've got three movies that are like um, three Marvel properties, and people really didn't. We didn't. Even, people didn't even think that it was going to be like the staple that it is now of movie going. You know, they didn't see this coming. We were still wandering in the desert, you know, for a live action comic book movie. So we were just thrilled that we were seeing these characters on live. A lot of people did complain about, oh well, it's not comic accurate. Well, yeah, of course, dude. This is 2000. You're talking about in cinema. It was they wanted to do more realism a lot in the 90s than it was fantasy. You know, it wasn't they wanted to keep everything grounded and real. So that I think that was one of the reasons why they kept the costumes all black. You know, um, but that was you had so you kind of you had to take what you had to get right. You know, and they were just dealing out little bit by little bit. But that first X Men movie, despite the costumes or like Toad, I think was another problem. But like that story was good, man. That was entertaining enough for people to come back. You know, people came back for that second movie. People came back, and then by the third movie, that was huge. In when X3 came out, that was a huge thing because people didn't think that movies would go beyond three movies. This was supposed to be the last X Men movie. Um, wait, did wait a minute. I'll take that back. I think the X Wolverine. I think they were planning on doing a spinoff of Wolverine at that time, but still, at least by X2, I think that there was an expectation of like, well, they're only get three movies, right? And you might get a spinoff, okay, of Wolverine. That would be another three, but that was it, right? No one thought that they would be making these movies back to back. But then you've got other studios, right? Then you've got like um, Daredevil with Ben Affleck comes out. You got Ghost Rider with Nic Cage and Ang Lee's Hulk, and like you've got like all these new movies coming out, and like we were thirsty for that content because we have not seen these characters on screen, even though we know that they weren't the greatest versions of those characters. Personally, I love Ang Lee's Hulk. I like that. I like the dichotomy of the actual Hulk being the Hulk and not what we ended up with in Endgame. Um, but I like that. I like the Hulk 2003 Hulk, and I'll stand by that. Let's see here now. So then after so then you had all these you know different Marvel properties being made by different studios, and then when those different studios, you just had these. I think what was good about that, and people overlook that. People overlook the fact that they were made by different studios and like they were made by different stories. I think that Marvel needed that. I think that they really did need that, not just because that gave them incentive to bring it all in house with the Marvel Studios, but they saw that these movies were making money. Like people went out to go see Daredevil. They went to go see Ghost Rider. I think I did to go see Ghost Rider in the theater. Um, because Nick Cage is Nick Cage. He was a big star, so people wanted to go see Ghost Rider. What else? There was a bunch of other movies like Punisher, the first Punisher movie with what's his name? I'll look it up. I got the internet. Punisher 2004. I think it's again. So that was with let me pull it up here. What's his name? Yeah, this dude. He was in The Expanse. I should know his name. Thomas Jane. That's right. So Thomas Jane and John Travolta. John Travolta was the bad guy in that film. I again, this is a movie that I really enjoyed, and I thought I would have really liked if there was a rumor that supposedly in Spider-Man 2, like there's a small scene where supposedly some guy that looks like Thomas Jane or is Thomas Jane is in the film as Punisher, but he's not called out. So, and there's another rumor that supposedly Wolverine was supposed to be as make a cameo in Spider-Man, but supposedly they couldn't find the costume, which doesn't make any sense because he doesn't really wear a costume. It's just something stupid they made up and people believe it. So like, yeah, the I really enjoyed the Punisher. I like that film. So then you go into also, oh yeah, the Fantastic Four. So let's pull that up. Let's pull up the 2000s Fantastic Four. 2005. Yeah, so again, this is another property that people were thirsty for. They wanted to see the X Men, or they wanted to see the Fantastic Four. My brain is out of it. And then okay, so look at the cast. So with the cast of the Fantastic Four, this was owned by Fox, and then Fox also owned FX at the time, and still did. Well, yeah, at the time. On FX, they had a lot of good shows running at the time in that early 2000 era. The Shield with Vic Mackey, who played the Thing, he was popular. That was a really great show. I totally recommend watching The Shield. Um, not Shield or not Into Shield, but just The Shield, I think. And what else? What's his name here? Michael Chiklis. Vic Mackey. That's what I call him Vic Mackey, but his name is Michael Chiklis. That's his name. That's his character in the show, The Shield. Vic Mackey. So Kerry Washington, she's in the film. That's right. Yeah, him, this guy. So he was in the show Nip Tuck in the 2000s on FX. And so, like, yeah, these two guys were basically their main headliners. Jessica Alba is Jessica Alba. Mm. And yeah, so that's basically the Fantastic Four of the 2000s. And I'll say this about that movie: I enjoyed that film because it was very lighthearted. It was campy, but I thought it worked. I don't understand why people didn't like that film, or at least I can kind of see why they didn't like the second one. I love the second one too. Again, I see. For me, I grew up in that era, so like for me, these movies are there's that resonance, right? You when you're young, you just have that connection. Maybe it's and this is messed up right here. So like this is the second live action Fantastic Four to be filmed. A previous attempt, like titled Fantastic Four. Oh, okay. So they're talking about the previous one. So I just read that. I was thinking they're talking about this one as a B movie. This was not a B movie. This was a sanctioned 20th Century Fox movie. Stan Lee was in it. Um, in fact, there's a cut scene in the DVD Blu-ray where Reed Richards changes his face shape to look like Hugh Jackman. So there was a effort in the early 2000s, like they wanted to, a lot of these movies wanted to kind of use the other films to, it was like this, right? You know, they just came one right after the other. And so in retrospect, I can see how people don't like them because, like, you know, obviously we had like Civil War and like Deadpool and like, you know what I'm saying? We've had these movies that people really like, but they overlook these previous early films, and like the early Marvel universe is, and to my opinion, I think it's underrated. It really is because you didn't have anything. There was no movies in this. I mean, not really. Again, they talk about the Fantastic Four B movie, but like you didn't have those superhero movies unless it was DC. You know, Marvel, they didn't have those big budget films. You know, and even then, DC only had like Superman in the 80s, the 70s and 80s, and then you had Batman in the 80s and 90s, right? Spawn, you had Spawn that came out. That was, I like Spawn. That was a badass movie. When a couple other like, yeah, a couple other smaller comic characters, but like, um, yeah. So you have to put it in that perspective of like, of having little. You know, if you have little of something, you want to cherish it. Um, and so I could easily put on this movie and the sequel tonight. I could rewatch Fantastic Four Part One and Two back to back. Um, and it's I mean they still play it on Fox on the TV, I think, because it's a lighthearted comedy. It's not, I mean it really is lighthearted. There's nothing, I don't know there's much more about it that's wrong with it. Like they went into space, they got their powers. Um I don't know. I don't know what people's problem is with it. CGI maybe? I mean really? You can't remaster the thing and just add better CGI? That's what I'm saying. It's just story wise, it's a good film. Anyway, so then that leads us to the second Fantastic Four film. Well, I'm gonna skip over the sequel to this one and talk. Well, and I'm even gonna skip over that one that no one wants to talk about. The one with man, I can never remember her names to save my life. Um, Michael B. Jordan, the one with Michael B. Jordan. Like, yeah, no one liked that. I mean, come on, dude. Like, that was just not good. It was just not good. I this is far. I mean, I'll say this, for the Doctor Strange movie when it comes out. I hope they are in it. I hope this Fantastic Four, Reed Richards is in the film on the Illuminati, sitting next to like Blade and um, Ghost Rider or something like that. Like I really hope they incorporate the Fox characters into Doctor Strange. I don't know if they will, but I from there was that leak that came out of the cast And they bring a lot of characters back. So he's one of the ones that I'm hoping for. I think out of all of them, he'd be the one that they would probably bring back simply because of the being Reed Richards and it'd be the first appearance. I don't know. I would really hope so. I don't want them to recast because it's such a. I don't know how they would do it, man. I can't think of that many actors that really have who could really pull that off. I mean, a lot of kids will give their most popular opinion about because whatever's on TV, but when it comes to actual casting it, I don't know who could actually do it. Maybe I'm sure there's somebody they'll pick somebody for it, but I really hope he's in the Doctor Strange movie. So let's see. Let me do a quick check here. Just 1 second. I'm gonna see if I'm even listing here. Probably not. I gotta double check, man. YouTube is scantless, bro. They are scandalous. Mm-hmm. Look at this. All right, hold on. Let me grab my phone here. This is getting ridiculous. What's up? Hmm. All right. Well, yeah. So if you search up Fantastic Four, I'm here. If I look up Fantastic Four director, I'm not. Yeah. So I mean, hey, that's cool. No biggie. All right. Just want to double check. You again, man. YouTube is tricky, man. They like to sneak in and cut you off and do some just yeah. I don't know. Just do some shady stuff sometimes. I don't know. I'm not that used to it yet. Maybe you have to have more followers. I guess it's all about weight and popularity, right? You know, who draws in the most water. You ain't drawing shit, Lebowski. Uh, the Big Lebowski. So anyway, yeah, Fantastic Four. Let me go back to Fantastic Four. What happened? So Fantastic Four came out, and then so during that time in the 2000s, man, and this is still 2005, right? The MCU isn't even a twinkle in Feige's eye. But it might be at this time. I think he's probably wanted to do that for a while. But I just yeah, you have to just put it in perspective, right? You gotta look at it from that point of view of like there wasn't anything before, so you had to start somewhere, right? And so people just forget that, man. People forget that, like, oh, well, they could have just got it right the first time. Like, well, they probably could, but that is, and I hate even giving them leeway because I don't even want that. I don't want to give them leeway. I'm just saying that it was, people were still figuring this thing out. It wasn't like any new genre, right? Any new anything, there's going to be hits and misses, right? Like the early days of like hip hop or something, like to start off in parties and like I don't know. I don't know the whole. My point is that um, when you're starting off fresh, you're gonna make mistakes, right? And that's just as simple as that. That's the point I'm trying to make. And then you get to and even the early days of Marvel Studios, right? Even the early days when and they had to replace Edward Norton. They got bought out by Disney, and like they had to change their storylines and all that, and like yeah, we've been on this roller coaster ride for about going on 20 years now, and it's starting to fade, man. I think it really is. I think that Marvel can hold out with the characters that they have, but I I think the general audience is going to give them a second chance. Like they're going to give them a second season. That's all it really is. I mean, you had 21 movies, right? And that's basically a season of a show, except you're bigger budget and it's 2 hours each. So that's a season. Okay, that's we've already had season one. I think people are going to give Marvel 2 seasons. Um, if they don't make it to, it really depends. I think on Young Avengers. And like some of the other properties they're doing, like Midnight Suns and stuff. I think they'll coast. I think they're going to be. I like. It really depends, man. It really depends because so far they hit it out of the park with No Way Home, um, because they tied everything together. And then you got Doctor Strange coming out now, and that's supposed to have all these huge cameos. And I don't know how they're gonna tie the multiverse into that. Then you have um, Wanda. You got all these different elements in the stories of like you just don't know where they're gonna go with it, right? And it's different, and that's not the same feeling that people had when people were expecting Infinity War to come. Like you knew like the people who were watching this, they knew eventually that Infinity War or the part one and two, because originally it was supposed to be Infinity War part one and two. It wasn't supposed to be Endgame. So during that time, you get that's you know what I'm saying. Like they had to. I think people. What I'm saying is that they've got 2 seasons. I think they're going to, if they don't make it by Secret Wars. I think people are just going to give up after Secret Wars. Honestly, um, and it really depends on some of their big name hits. Like Young Avengers, if it flops, then that's going to be a huge hit. Thunderbolts, I don't think they're going to do Thunderbolts anymore because the guy who played Thunderbolt Ross died. So I don't see them creating that team. You know, I mean, like maybe with Julie Louis Dreyfus, maybe she might call them the Thunderbolts in like in some villainous respect, but I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work. The what else? What else is supposed to be coming out? Isn't there supposed to be like a spinoff of like Guardians? And you got the X Men, the '97 X Men, um, She Hulk. I just I think that could be good. I just don't know how they're all going to tie it together because right now it feels like the second or third season of Daredevil when it like in the Netflix universe like you didn't know where it was going to go, and then like they bring them all these different storylines together in the Defenders, and like the story doesn't make any sense because the characters don't know who they're up against. Like three out of the five or was it the only people who knew about the hand were the people from Daredevil. Like he was trying to explain like everything, and then like they had to like tie these four storylines together, and then like and they did it kind of this half-assed way, and people were like, "Well, that was it." And they had like one good scene. One of the great scenes I really enjoyed was them sitting together in the Chinese restaurant, and they were fine. That was their moment. I thought it was really cool. I like the visuals of the Defenders series where they crossed all the color schemes from the different shows over. I thought that was cool. Um, but the story, it always comes back to the story, right? I just think that like Jessica Jones didn't know what she was doing in the film. She's like, "Why am I fighting ninjas?" Like, yeah, I just that's what I feel is going to happen with the next series of MCU films. It's like all these different properties that they're setting up. They're so different in different ways. I don't know how they're gonna tie that together at the end like they did in Endgame. They barely made it with Endgame. I mean, they uh like that whole series, dude. Like that, the only way Endgame works is if you focus on Thanos' character as the lead in Infinity War, because that's his point of view, right? He's around going to different places, getting the stones, and they're trying to stop him after the fact. And he just happens to be one step ahead of them every step of the way because he took the advantage, he took the surprise. Um, I just don't see them landing it a second time. It really will depend. It really depends on how they pull off the other films. Because I'm trying to think, if you can cross over like Kate Bishop, right, who's supposed to be the next Hawkeye, and then who else is supposed to replace? I guess she's part of the Young Avengers, right? So is she gonna babysit like the Wanda Max twins, or like are they gonna age the twins up in Doctor Strange, or like that's what it feels like, man? Because she's way too old to be at the kids' table. I think. I mean, she's in her early 20s. Who's the new Black Widow? Um, she's in her early 20s, and then you've got these other kids, man. You've got like the kid from Iron Man 3. I don't know if they're gonna bring him back. Um, Tony Stark's daughter, or whoever lineage that they pick for that. Um, who else? Like, there's a couple other kids that they've introduced. I forgot who offhand, but like, um, Groot. I think Groot would probably be part of the Young Avengers, right? He's a teen, so like, yeah, it just seems like some of the older people, like the chick who's playing Black Widow now, Florence Pugh. So like, I don't see her babysitting the kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, these kids will have to be well experienced by the time they get to the Young Avengers show. Otherwise, it's just it. I feel I don't know how they're gonna be able to have have that hard cut right. To correct it. It would take somebody like some really good writing and a talented director to be able to pull that off. I don't even think they have that director or writer at the moment. They've got Taika. I get it. People like him. I don't see him making Secret Wars. They've got John Watts, but he's taking a step away now. You've got um, James Gunn. James Gunn, I don't know what his deal is. He seems to be quit. I think he's quitting after Guardians. So, and I don't blame him. Um, who else? And then every other, like most of the other characters are on the TV shows, and nobody knows who the directors are for them. So, I mean, some people do, but like not really. Now, I mean, they don't stand out like the movie directors do. So yeah, I don't know how they're gonna be able to keep it going after. I would say after Young Avengers. If it really depends on how Young Avengers is gonna do. I think it's gonna be an isolated audience. I think they're really going for the kid market. I think a lot of the older fans are not gonna go, even if they have their kids. I don't. I think they'll let their kids go to the movies to go see Young Avengers. Oh yeah, here's $20. Go. You know, be back at 8 or whatever. Just make sure you're on time. I just don't see them. I don't see like adults going to see this film without their kids. You know, Avengers. You could watch Avengers on your own, even though it's not aimed at kids, right? So like, I just don't know how they're gonna do that. Thunderbolts. I don't know if anybody's gonna watch a Thunderbolts movie. That I can like go out to the theater and see a Thunderbolts movie like in mass. I'm talking about the general audience, not the core. I'm talking about the general audience. I don't know if they're gonna see that unless they really hype it up. It really depends on how the core hypes up all this stuff. Um, what else? Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi. Again, how do you incorporate Kate Bishop with Shang-Chi? That's my question. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are two separate worlds. how do they come together? Is he a Young Avenger? Because he's like what, almost 30? So like, what qualifies as young? Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna do how they're gonna do that. I think that they're gonna have a really tough time coming up. I think they're really relying on the Fantastic Four and the X Men to save them. Um, and I think they're gonna like put a back seat to a lot of these characters now once they do have the X Men, because the X Men themselves are like a whole separate category basically in Marvel. Like there's so many mutants and like that they could use. I mean they literally had a separate franchise in a different studio to handle the X Men, and they still couldn't get all the characters in the X Men movies. So I don't know. I want to be hopeful. I do. I want to be hopeful. I think it'll be fun. I'm gonna probably watch some of them, and I'm gonna see how that works. Well, let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about. If there's anything else going on here? I don't want to end the stream just yet, but let me see what else is going on. Okay. Close that out. Crap. Trump. Stupid stuff. I wanted to see that. What's the news going on? Some movie news. Let's see what Screen Rant's up to. Oh yeah, yeah. So that reminds me. Before we go there, um, I want to talk about the Nick Cage movie, man. What was it called? The Unbearable Weight of Talent of Nick Cage or something? The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Yeah. Um. So I enjoyed this film, but let me say. So let me go back. Yeah, I really enjoyed this film. The humor. So let me say. Let me start from the beginning. So I enjoy the humor, and I'm gonna give the positives. I'll start with the positives and then some of the negatives and such. Positives. I thought the script was funny. I thought Nick Cage nailed it, as he always does. Um, I thought Tiffany Haddish was funny, even though I'm not a huge fan of Tiffany Haddish. Um, just the way I just like, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of her, but I appreciate her in this movie. I thought she was funny in this movie. Um, I like the setup, kind of. I like the meta-ness of it, but is a big but. Um, the thing that I don't like about the meta-ness is it's overused more on like there's so many movies nowadays that are doing that same script template of meta-ness, um, that has pulled away from the weight of this film what could have been, I think. Like if it was just a movie that came out in 2012, maybe 2010, before like the meta-ness, that could have worked a lot better of its own. Oh, this is clever. He's talking about himself, right? He's doing a movie about himself. That's interesting, or something like that, right? That would be if it was just isolated as its own movie. And I'll say this: Scream, the last Scream movie that came out, also has the same problem because a lot of the premise of Scream, like in the original movies, was the meta-ness. So but then you oversaturate the market with it. That's the problem. The oversaturation of the market with this meta template storyline that they've been using everywhere is it takes away from these other movies. I think like it just drowns them out. I really wanted to like Scream. I did, and I kind of do in some level, but not really. Again, because they're doing something that's already oversaturated, right? the reason why they did that, I think, in the original is because the reason why Scream is popular to begin with that meta-ness, is because they were playing off the horror tropes of like the past 30 years that came before it. All the rules of the horror genre and stuff like that. They were playing on top of that. They had something to feed off of. But this is just feeding off of feeding off. You're like 4 levels up, and it's just over the top. Um, but I did, man. I really enjoyed the Nic Cage movie. I would definitely recommend somebody go see it. Um, what else movie did I see? X. I saw X. X was I liked X, and I thought that the I thought it would have been better if there was some poetic justice to the film. Like, for instance, you've got the filmmaker, the boyfriend, right? He wants to make this artistic porno, okay? And then his girlfriend says, "Oh, I want to get railed by this dude on camera. Do you mind?" Like, not really, but he just has to deal with it because that's part of the industry. That's part of the game, right? And it would have been nice that he survived because of that, because of like he was the one who was hurt in the film, right? And like if other people were killed because they were in the porno, right? Like if there was just like this almost like a cruel joke to the audience, right? It would be funny if it was not a cruel joke, but like if there was a joke kind of in the audience where it twists the audience where people thought like the one girl was gonna live, but then at the end of the movie she dies, and the only one left is the dude who had his heart broken. You know what I'm saying? Just that poetic justice at the end of the film would have been interesting. I think that would have been a curveball that people wouldn't be expecting, and I think that would have been a nice only because of that, just because of the that curveball at the end and like that poetic twist of like, well, this is what you get for you know indulging in that thing. Like that's now I'm not even putting judgment on the act itself. I'm simply stating of storytelling, right? The actual uh, the wraparound, the callback, right? Starting the full circle, right? That's what I'm going for. Um, but but I did like the various actors. I liked the storyline. I liked uh, I, the homage to Chainsaw Massacre. Um, there was a lot of reference to that, right? The gas station and like a house in the middle of nowhere, car broken down, all that. Again, you're relying on the tropes of a horror film, right? Um, Actors were good. I like the various actors. The dude, um, uh, the ex-marine. I think he was an ex-marine, army guy. I liked him, man. I thought his character. I think he should have stayed alive. Um, I think that would have been interesting if he stayed alive and then the cameraman stayed alive. If they were the last two alive, that would be interesting. I think that would have been a much more interesting uh, movie. But I can see why they didn't do that. It was one thing I did get lost in. Maybe somebody can comment eventually, but at the end of the film was the main girl, like the brunette. I can't think of her name. Was the brunette she the daughter of the priest on TV, which caused them? I think that's probably what happened. That would make sense. That's what I would do in the film. Like, oh, the old lady recognized her from the TV evangelist, which would make sense. Um, but I like that film. I heard they're gonna do a sequel, and I heard it's gonna be it's a letdown. They're not calling it Double X, so that way they could call the third one Triple X. They didn't do that. Apparently, they're gonna call it something else. So that is kind of disappointing, and it's supposed to be a prequel. So good luck with that. And let's see what else.
Sonic. I did watch Sonic. I actually really enjoyed Sonic. Um, do I like Sonic 2 better than Sonic 1? Um, they're very close together. Sonic 1, I think, was a very near perfect game movie. Um, there was so many references that they had to fix, and because there was such backlash about like how Sonic was like animated in the first, in the before it came out. I think that really gave them the push to give a shit about what was in the movie, about callbacks to the game and the property. I think that the like, here's a prime example, right? So like in Sonic Two, and I don't want to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil all of it, but there's. I just say this: there, you've seen it in the preview. There's a preview of a temple. Obviously, he has to go to the temple, right? It's just storytelling. You have to go to the temple. He's in the temple, and one of the coolest callbacks to the game was he's like doing this running and dodging through all the through the tunnels and whatnot of the temple. Excuse me. And he has to slow down for something, right? He has to slow down for a second, and then he triple speeds up. You can hear it. He's like, and he does it 3 times and takes off. That's something that if you played Sonic in the 90s, or if you play any time, you would know that's how he gained speed, and it was such a nice little natural way for them to introduce that feature of the character. Um, that was something that they could have overlooked at any point. But I really appreciated it. There was a lot of that too. There was a lot of incorporations of the game within these movies, both one and two. The second one, hmm, there are some things I didn't like about. Again, this is all nitpicks. This is just a nitpick about Sonic Two. I really did love Sonic Two. The nitpick that I have about it is I wish they would have stretched out the Supersonic and Chaos Emerald storyline. I kind of hope they would have stretched that out to maybe 3 films. Like by part 5, he becomes no. I would say by part 3 he becomes supersonic, and then he has to, or at least he has to collect the. He has to go on. I think he should have had to go on a journey, leave Earth with Tails and Knuckles, and then that's when he starts meeting all the other various characters. He goes to different worlds, like he goes back to the Mushroom World. I don't think we're going to be able to see that again. Um, so that would have been nice to see. He has to go to the various worlds, which would make sense because he had the map right with the different locations. So like that's what I thought they were setting up, is that he would have to go on that journey, but apparently not. Apparently they just wanted to throw out the entire all the Chaos Emeralds at him, and he becomes supersonic. So then now you have a problem of, well, now he's OP, right? Now he's overpowered. Now he can just use the rings whenever, or use the Chaos Emeralds whenever, and you know what I'm saying? That's like you blew your wad too early, is what it felt like. It felt like they came too early, and they didn't want, like, you could have held it just like one more movie. If you just held it one more movie, made 2 about him going on the adventure, going to the Mushroom Planet, maybe going to a third planet, and then finding the Chaos Emeralds, coming back, and then by the third movie, that's when he comes back, and then Robotnik has actually enslaved the planet with. And that's the other thing they don't bring up. They have not brought up the robotic slaves, or the animals that he was turning into robots, which was a huge element of that game. Even like the first 3 games, like the whole point was you had to save the animals. Uh, there was the like the squirrels and the rabbits and all that. So you had to save them, man. That's what the whole point of the game was. Like when you jumped and hit one of the robots, it turns into an animal that flies away. You were saving that animal that was turned into a robot by robotic. I mean, that's his name, Robotnik, right? He wants to turn everything into a robot. So I don't know how they're going to continue this story, man. Like, I mean, I get they're going with uh who they chose in the after credits, but I just, again, I feel like they're not planning this out long enough. Like, if Sega really wants to make a um a cinematic universe, which they're obviously trying to copy from Marvel. I mean, the entire logo is basically the same version as uh, the Marvel logo. They call it original film, but they literally have the same two bars right across. Um, and like the font structure is the same. So like I just, yeah, they're, I think they should be able to stretch these movies out a little bit longer. Like, I would like to see Sonic 5. I really do. I think that they could easily make Sonic 5. But I think they'll probably stick to like 4, most likely. Like 3 would be really popular, and then by popular demand, they might become do 5, or excuse me, 4. Um, I thought that it would be interesting. There's a lot of levels too. Like, it would have been really nice to see a scene where they went to like Las Vegas or something, like because of the casino, which was such a huge level in Sonic 2. Like, everybody never wanted, no one wanted to leave that level because you get to play in the slots. That was so fun. And then even then you went to the side game, and then you still went to that level. That's what I did anyway. That's what me and my brothers did. Um, so yeah, that would be really interesting to see. Um, I personally wanted to see. I don't think I'm going to do it because they don't. It's not officially a part of the rights. Is I really wanted them to bring in Sally and the Saturday morning cartoon characters, because I really enjoyed the storyline of that show. It shows the struggle between Robotnik, enslaving the world with robots, and Sonic having to defeat that, and he gets the girl. So that seemed like a really great storyline, even as a kid, dude. Because there was two different versions of Sonic as a kid. There was the Jaleel White. Actually, he did the voice for both. But there was the really kids Saturday morning cartoon, and then there was the later one. I think one was during the week, and then one was in the weekend. But like, I forgot which one it was, but the one that was like more serious is the one I liked. And if they could have got to that by like the fifth movie, that would have been amazing. I think they would have, by the fifth movie, Robotnik has enslaved the world. He's turned all the animals, or he's killed all the people, and all the animals are robots, and Sonic's the only one that has to save them all. And he's got, that's when in the final movie he can finally use all the Chaos Emeralds and then just womp Robotnik's ass up and down the road. You know what I'm saying? That would have been a really great story. I obviously they're not going to do that. Now they're going with who they're going with. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, go see it. Go see it in theater. And yeah, that's really that's about it. That's all I got to say about that. But yeah, that's all I can really talk about for now. I've been going for a while now, man. I don't know if anybody's actually joined in. Probably because of YouTube's wonderful distribution policy of letting people see. Okay, well, yeah, it's still there. I'm still up. I ain't got nobody here, but it's still up. But anyway, if you do come across the video and you like what I had to talk about, throw me a like, subscribe, make a comment. All the things that YouTube requires. That would definitely help out. I think that'd be cool. I'm Ubercoo, and peace out.